We are going.
Hey guys, thanks for joining me today. We're just going to let the attendees start to log on. Usually takes 2 or 3 minutes for everybody to get online. So right now we have Ben, Jadene, we have Steffany out in Calgary. So thanks everybody for being on. Good. Yeah, they're starting to really come in here. Oh, wow. We've got a couple from, you'll be impressed, you guys, from where these guys are coming in from all over the world. That is so cool. So cool. We're going to wait just for another couple minutes here. I know that there's one person that really wanted to be on here and I don't see them on here yet. So we'll give that person 1 or 2 minutes longer. So looking forward to this. I know we've been planning this for a long time. How's everybody doing today?
Very well. Thanks, Vanessa. Good to see you. Cheers.
You too.
Great. Doing really well.
Okay, good. Yeah, I see them starting to roll on here. Just 1 more minute. So we have about half an hour today, you guys. So we're going to go through for about half an hour. If we end up going a little long, then oh well, but we'll plan for half an hour. That's so great. Let's get rolling. So hi, everybody. My name is Vanessa Hedinger, and I'm the general manager and master instructor for a company called Quantum Speed. And we're a part of a skate tech group of companies. And our strategic partner and proud strategic partner is Skating Success. So here with us today is the principals of Skating Success, who are Jadene Ferreira, Ben Ferrara, and Steffany Hanlen. So thanks for joining me, everybody. Just before we get rolling, I want to give you a couple of technical items. Make sure you click on the top left, always show meeting controls. That's really important so you can ask questions. There's a Q&A area and a wave area. You can always raise up your hand. And I'll be adding some polls. So you need to make sure that that's open. Always show meeting controls. Make sure you ask questions throughout. I'll be looking at your questions and moderating your questions, and I'll ask them to Steffany and Ben and Jadene. So those are the main things. Anything that you need after the fact, please email into the office, Skating Success, and we'll be sure to get back to you. So let's get going. Let's start with you guys, because you guys are the most important. We're going to ask our people, all our attendees, what do you most want to know about Skating Success? So here's the poll on here. What do you want? Do you want more information on master classes in general? Do you want more information on a specific master class? More information on who the principals are? Or do you just have general interest in the long-term development of your skater? So I'll give you a couple minutes here.
Are these confidential, right? No, people won't know who's asking.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, that's a good question, because there are some interesting polls later on. So yeah, absolutely. This is completely anonymous, and I do not even know who's saying what. So okay, great. Actually, the most have come back is general interest in long-term development for their skaters. So that's pretty cool, because that's something that we know a lot about. So let's get rolling then. So Skating Success. I'm going to direct the first one here to you, Steffany. Sure. Can you give me a little bit of information on how you got started with Skating Success? Where did the idea come from?
Well, the idea has been percolating for many, many years. And I had the opportunity to work with Ben as his mental performance coach when he was on his Team Canada and World Team journey back in the early 2000s. And we were very fortunate to travel the world together. And I got a bird's eye view and a fly on the wall kind of experience of what goes on at the highest level of figure skating, which really wasn't my background. As at the same time I was building with you Quantum Speed high performance skating systems and working with my husband Patrick at Pro Skate Edmonton. So we had a lot of interest in skating. And as I started evolving my relationship with Ben and understanding more and more about what skaters need, of course, Jadene gets folded into the conversation. We start training. She's a world-class choreographer, coach, trained in psychology. She's a mental performance coach. So we had a lot in common. So when we were having conversations together about the long-term development of an athlete, we started talking about also life after sport. So this sort of made us work backwards from an outcome of having healthy and a holistic environment for skaters. So one day we were sitting in my apartment in Vancouver, and my husband Patrick and we put, sticky 3M notes up on the windows, and we said, guys, I have an idea. I have this crazy idea that figure skaters and figure skating coaches really need to be supported differently. Skate Canada, US Figure Skating, all the federations do a fabulous job with their coach certification. But what happens when it gets to the skaters level and to the parents, sometimes it gets watered down. Ben had and still has, well, footage now of his triple axel that we get to see on the Dartfish on different social media platforms. And watching Jadene build her choreography business over the years, it's so individual. Each skater has their own style. So she styles them for, you know, their music, but it matches their personality. And then she works with Ben on the technical, and then they understand the points. But as a parent, I could imagine, like, I don't understand any of this stuff. So I said, why don't we just chunk it down, pick one skill, and see what it would take to teach one skill in one day, like a master class. You know, you were a pianist, right? You're a piano player. You did master classes all the time, right, Vanessa? Yeah.
Sure.
So this is like a master class in music. So we thought, well, this is a crazy idea. It's never going to work. Seminars are seminars, you know, they're just normal. People do seminars all the time. I'm like, no. This is not a seminar. This is just a way different idea. Let's take one. And Ben says, well, let's take the Axel. You know,
well, let's get into what that is, and why is Ben Ferrara the right person to be teaching the Axel class? So Benny, I'm just going to put you on the spot right away, buddy. Tell me,
Go for
why
it.
should it
Ready.
be,
A great
why
start.
should it be
Steffany.
you? Why can't I be teaching an Axel class?
Well, I think one of the things is when we talk about the Axel, invented by Axel Paulsen at the turn of the century in figure skating, it's the only jump in figure skating where you actually step forward and do an extra half rotation. Okay, now for me, being able to instruct it, I was one of the fortunate skaters in the world to perform triple Axel after my 10,000 hours of repetition involved in this sport. One of the things that I think that having the conversation with Steffany when we developed the Axel Masterclass was the Axel, I believe, and I think a lot of coaches believe too, is it's got to be instructed correctly the first time. There has to be a look through the microscope of where your skater is today, but also long term, this may be a double, or now, I mean, gosh, we've got females doing triple Axel all the time at these senior Grand Prix events, you know, looking through the telescope and going, what is that Axel going to be 5-10 years from now? And I think, you know, developing the masterclass and having the breakdown of each individual class, having an intention of what that specific skill requirement is going to be to perform that Axel, was a great conversation. Of course, packaging it together for the great seminar. Then, of course, you know, having Jadene and Steffany on board with, you know, adding a component factor to it. You know, the meat and potatoes are the meat and potatoes, but then having the grander vision of it, it really became a very cool class to begin the conversation of, again, the master class series.
Yeah.
And so with that Axel class then, like, is it something that takes a long time? Like, do you see those kids like every week for 10-15 minutes a week, or like, how does it work?
No, I think that's the best part about it, is that usually when you're learning an Axel, you are learning it in a very small chunk of time and window, and learning it over a long period of time to get that understanding from start to finish. So when Steffany and Ben and I sat down, we thought, why not learn every piece of this element in one day, right? So that you, as a skater, you can literally understand, even if you can't do it yet, or if you can really do it, but you want to get it better, you're doing every single piece, the beginning, the middle, the end of that jump. And something I have to say about Ben that he may not say about himself is how consistent his triple Axel was in competition, around the world, no matter what time zone you were in. And so we really train for consistency and that technical know-how so that the skaters understand it top to bottom, as well as their coaches.
So how would the follow-up work? Because I think I just caught it as I started saying it, you said with their coaches. So what happens with the follow-up? Because in one day, I'm assuming, you know, skaters learn a lot about it, but I wonder, has there been a skater that just got it in that one day?
There actually has.
You know, and that's a good question about follow-up. One of the things that we talk about, and Steffany just mentioned, was coaches as well. So coaches attend the masterclass, they come away, they again go back to, like we say, it's an add-on to the skaters training, which is the masterclass, right? So this coaches come in. There's a great conversation. We have our coaches' corners at the beginning of the morning and at the end of the day. We go through the class, we create a circle, right, of support. And it's been incredible. I've had coaches actually say, you know what, like the skater the next week, you know, was able to perform the jump successfully. Or what's even better is Jadene and I are at these events constantly, either in Alberta or across the country, and we meet up with some of these skaters afterwards, and the skater will come up and say, guess what I just did? So the follow-up kind of comes in really cool segments of that, where it may be a coach, it may be the individual skater as well. So that's how that generally happens.
So do I get it then that the master class is a day, it's just a day, and then they go away to their own coaches? And there's some follow-up with coaches. I mean, I don't know enough about it, but are there coaches that also can train the Axial? And then are there coaches that don't train the Axial? Like, are you in the middle? Like, are there people that take your Axial information, continue it on? Or are there people that just like keep saying, okay, Ben, Jadene, you just keep fixing this person's Axial? Like, how does it work?
Can I step in?
Yeah.
Can I just step in?
Yeah.
Because this brings us back to the reason why the masterclass series started with the Axial.
Mm.
We needed to sit with one thing because coaches, figure skating is a very traditional sport and has very strong coaching values, but it's very hierarchical. So we had to be careful not to say, well, we're going to fix all the things that's wrong with your child, your skater's Axial.
Totally.
Skaters are coming in either with a good foundation and also with their own personal managing coach.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to make sure that we created an environment where the coaches didn't feel threatened at all. Like Ben and Jadene, and even in all of our businesses, Vanessa, you understand that we want to be an overarching support system for skating and for athlete development. We're not out there trying to steal skaters from other skaters or say that this is a Ben Ferrara type or Jadene Ferreira type, my opinion. This is a scientific way of teaching the Axial. So when the coaches come in, they actually get an understanding that this is a facilitated opportunity for them to possibly learn some more stuff, not disrespecting what they already know about a certain jump, in this case, the Axial, but actually adding to it. So there's no threat to the skater, no threat to the coach that Ben and Jadene are trying to steal their skaters or, impose an opinion. This is just an add-on to what people are already doing, and it's super cost effective and so efficient.
Well, let's go there. Thank you, Steffany. I really appreciate that. That helps me understand it a whole lot more. I want to ask you though, and maybe I'll direct this one at Jadene, is what is the value? Because when I saw the price of this, I assumed it was like an hour. Because honestly, to tell you the truth, like our Quantum Speed Q3 programs are approximately $2,000. So when I looked at a masterclass, I saw the price point and I thought, a couple hours might be nice. And then I heard it was a day long. So, I don't want to steal your thunder, but I'm looking at that and think like, that's pretty solid value here. But tell us about what happens in a masterclass day and what the value for the dollar really is.
Well, I'm really glad you brought this up because we have definitely, I would say, outdone ourselves on the pricing model, but it's all intentional. We wanted to create a space where any skater, any level, could jump in and have an entire day and focus on that element, whether it was a choreography masterclass or a spin to win masterclass. And really, when you bring it up, it's really, really inexpensive because they always include 8 sessions. So that's a minimum of the amount of sessions that you receive in the day. We include dry land training, always specific to the theme of the day, on ice training, of course, the environment and the ice time all included. So our general marker is about $25 per session that they're getting, which, as you say, all in one day, it's very, very effective. So I think what we knew was we're just so expensive one-on-one. If you want to hire me for 8 hours straight, it's going to be really expensive. We thought, well, why does it have to be that way? Why can't we create a product that anyone can attend and really get 10 times the value that they would get if they had to spread it out over that 8-month period to get the same amount?
That's a good explanation.
Very cool.
One of the things that is really important is skating is not a cheap sport. There's skates, there's lessons, blades, they don't come together. They got to mount them, then they got to sharpen them, then there's travel and competitions, and skaters and families have to pay for their coaches. So it really is a culture that requires a big commitment on the part of the family. And that's where we wanted to enter the conversation is, how can we support skaters, families, and coaches to get a massive amount of information that they can't really get unless they're doing 15-minute or half-hour sessions over the course of a season, and you do the math times, your per session or your per hour per 15-minute rate. Like you say, Jay, you could be $2,000, for that amount of money, and for a one-to-one lesson, which is fabulous. But every once in a while, these group lessons, because it creates fun. It's like a 1 to 20 or 2 to 20, 3 to 20, how many people you have on the ice that are interacting. And then they're creating this community and culture and environment of fun and success and learning and challenge. And they get to compete a little bit against each other, which is, it's always elevating the skater if they get a chance to do that.
Absolutely. And one more thing about that is coaches just love the fact that, okay, great, we had to fast track this together with the athlete. And then they go back to the lesson and they're like, great, we're done all these things and we can just add to it and go with it. Haven't you found that with some of the coaches?
Oh, for sure. And you know, some of the conversations we've had is great. And I mean, even adding to that too, and one of the things that's been excellent during that transition out of my career and then moving into coaching was using Dartfish, using that as the communication tool, but also the objective tool of, you know, skaters in frame speed do certain things at this time. How do we create that? How do we measure it? What do we need to see at certain stages of development? And that's become a really, really good conversation too, where now it's pretty objective on a video review under rotate or a downgrade or catching an axis at 0.2 of a second. It's very measurable.
So technical.
Yeah,
so technical.
Well, it's fun, but that's what the conversation has become.
It is. It's
so, and that's where, again, going back to it, skating has changed. This is the conversation today with regards to
and in regards to you, Steffany, what you provide with mental performance at the Olympic level, at the top level in the world. You've seen it. You've seen athletes that break down because they think it's all my fault. I can't do it because it's all my fault. And when we put the technology between the athlete and the experience, it goes, no, you're 80% there. Look, it's on the computer. You can see it. And all of a sudden they go, oh, I fell, but it wasn't a failure. Yeah. And that has been honestly game changing. And you've seen it, like I said, at the very top level.
Yeah, well, I think that was our tagline initially, was where tradition meets technology in figure skating. Yeah. We really wanted to elevate the game, but keep it pure. You know, keep it in its same swim lane, so to speak, where skaters and coaches could still have that experience of their own and competition and travel and all that, and go up through the ranks. But to go this way with it. And to be consultants in that.
And I think that's a really, really great point, Steph, because tradition meets technology. I want to go back to that. Tradition. Let's talk about that for a second. So much tradition with great coaching that I've been received. Not only from you. Come on,
there was others.
Like it's great. I'm just saying, like with my coach Jan Olmark, tons of tradition coaching there. Tons of hours, thousands of hours of learning. Yeah. Doug Lee, tradition. Okay, now how do we enhance all that tradition? We bring in the technology to support all the years of tradition that we've had in the past and move it forward to, again, measurable, but again, kind of that added technology piece that we can bring towards supporting the next generation of skaters and having all of that tradition link it forward.
Such a great point.
Yeah. Well said, Ben. I mean, we have to acknowledge the people that came before us, and I appreciate you doing that. That's
the tradition.
Now, I'm going to get back to our participants here. I'm going to ask them another question here, another poll. I'm going to ask this poll, and the reason I'm going to ask it of this group is because I want to know if we're talking about what they want to hear. So I want to know, when we talk about the master classes, what are you looking for in a training plan for your skater? Is this what you're looking for? Are you looking for efficiency, positive return on time? Are you looking for value for your dollar? Are you looking for your skater's enjoyment? Or are you looking for your skater to win more competitions? Now, this is definitely anonymous. And so I am not going to judge if you put down that you want your skater to win more competitions, because
that's good.
There's nothing wrong with winning. There's nothing wrong with winning. So, I mean, we have lots of answers here, everybody. I think we're pretty balanced on all of it. However, I do want to talk about that just a little bit. We've talked about efficiency, that it's 8 hours, it's one day, they go away, they come back to their own coaches. Like, it's not something that's a long program. It's a one-day program. They're getting great value for their dollar. Steffany talked about the group environment, that it's fun. But let's talk about winning. Let's talk about winning and optimizing points. So I'm going to direct this one at Ben again, because Ben is the technology guy and the techie tech. Let's hear it from you, Benny.
Can you take that poll down, or did you get the answers? Was it pretty even? I didn't see them.
Across the spread?
It was even, but we had kind of already addressed a couple of those. So we're going to go to the last one.
How to win, Ben?
Okay, so how do you win? Okay, that's a big open-ended question, and one that I will attempt to provide with the most clarity that I have. Now, what can you do as a skater? Okay, you can do an element. Great. Okay, how well is that element performed reliably with a GOE? which is a grade of execution on how well it's executed in terms of quality. And again, what's your, say, your strategies, what's your base technical score? Well, an Axel, for example, is worth 1.1. Okay, but then again, adding the Jadene piece, how do we make that 1.1 into 1.3, or add a 20%, 30% dividend, or 30% up? How do you make it 1.7? It is of course possible, right? And we're talking about one element, but again, across the spread of a whole bunch of them, that conversation is constantly ongoing. How do you make what you have better, so that you can again win on your sheet? You get your component score, you get your technical score. That's your sheet, and what you attempt to do, my opinion, is beat that sheet every time you go out, because again, what you're going to be able to do with improvement is improve of course your content, but also improve your technical and component score, that goes along with the development of the of skill acquisition and growth of performance and a whole bunch of other aspects.
Well, you can see by the way you're talking, though, how detailed the sport has become. When we say the sport has changed, it is so strategic. There's so many numbers. There's so much to understand. But in a masterclass setting, we can simplify it. We can give the skaters the numbers. We can teach them exactly how do you get this element to score better, which equals winning. So,
awesome.
Yeah, totally.
Thank you, guys.
Can I just actually make one more comment about winning, because that's what I love to do. I think Canadians sometimes are allergic to winning, and I've really made it my life's work to create a relatedness to the word win. But I also want to point out something unique, and I'm not sure if the listeners will really, I think based on who I think's on this call, they're going to understand. The success and winning requires team. Skating, whether it's because it's even they're out there by themselves, or in ice dance or pairs are out there with their partner, but they didn't get there by themselves. Their coach, their choreographer, fitness trainer, nutritionist, mental performance, mother, skate technician. It takes a village to get a skater to a competition. So we talk about winning. There's also the relational side of it. And when we make that commitment to this journey called a long-term development in figure skating, is making sure that the parents understand that there's amazing people that they can bring into that scenario. And what we figured out, and I think the nut of what we've done with Skating Success, is we've figured out a secret formula. One of the most powerful things I've ever learned in business, because I'm also a business coach, is that you always need 3 elements to win. You need the architect, you need the artist, and you need the technician. So anytime you're building a business, or anytime you're looking at the growth of a business, or how we're looking at Skating Success as a business to support your skating success, is that Jadene's the artist, I'm the architect, and Ben is that Badine. I just made up a name. That's really funny. That's like,
I loved it.
Well, yeah, okay.
And I was on a roll. Architect, artist, and technician. Right? Yeah. So we have those 3 baked in. So when people say, well, why are you guys working together? I said, because we're so committed to the development of athletes, long-term, mentally, physically, holistically, emotionally, but we need those 3 elements. We need the person to step back and go, okay, this is working, this isn't working. Let's figure out, how do we create a price point? How do we reach the market? How do we take care of the coaches? And then Jadene gets into all her creativity stuff on and off the ice. She got that. And then Ben can go right like he just did and explain GOE and numbers. And there's so many aspects to a masterclass that gets baked in that people don't even really realize why they're having so much success at these classes. And I think that's one of the nuggets.
Thanks.
Really great.
That's very cool.
And Steffany's right 100%. It takes a team today. I mean, now that sport has changed, gotten so sophisticated, that on a balance sheet of components and technique, I mean, and overall strategy and mental support and being able to do it, you can't do it alone.
It's more fun.
But it's more fun.
On a team, it's more fun.
And it brings out better results. It is. But at the same time, it's gotten so sophisticated. The team is I think it's the best way to do it.
It is. And it's also a new way of being team. Like, even though a bunch of coaches were maybe, let's say they're coaching at the same club,
for sure,
they're not always a team. They're not always sharing the skaters. And the cool thing about what I've seen you guys do is that, Ben, you will offer your Dartfish pole harness services to other skaters in the club. Jadene is able to go to any skater in the world. She's even doing seminars and master classes of choreography over Zoom in you know, in Michigan and California and in France. It's unbelievable what we can do with this. But this is a team. This is the three of us at this point are the triangle. We're the team. And then when they take their work out to clubs, they integrate their team into that team. So they're not trying to take over. We're not trying to take over the world of figure skating. It may look like it, but we're not. We're trying to elevate what we know to share the knowledge in different ways and create a new conversation that might just, you know, open the minds of some awesome figure skating coaches out there.
Absolutely. We're actually looking for more people to join our team. We
I
partner with great people.
I want to hear from Jadene here. I want to hear from Jadene. I want to hear, now we've talked about the Axel class. We've talked about the bomb.com named Ben Ferrara, but let's talk about you. Let's
Now, Big Dean.
You, and let's talk about the other 5 master classes that you guys have created and where those came from, why they exist, and how they're delivered. So
I love it.
Take it away, Jadene.
All right, thanks, Vanessa, and thanks for hosting. You're just so gracious with how you balance all our energies, because it's a powerhouse team. I get it. Well, when we created the Axel Masterclass, the very first time we delivered it, at the end of that same day, the coaches said, love it. When's the next class? Where's the Sauerkraut class? And we thought,
what's a Sauerkraut? What?
How? we couldn't believe it. So we were literally driving home, and we were driving home from Red Deer, Alberta, going, wow, we not only have scratched an itch here for people, but we can create all sorts of products. So then we got excited, of course. And then Ben, Mr. Technical, went, okay, well, let's divide these jumps in a new way. We know there's pre-rotation on the Sauerkraut, toe loop, and loop. Let's put those together, and that's our snap formula. So it can teach a technique that takes 3 jumps and you do it in 1 technique. Brilliant, so much fun. Then wait a minute, vaulting jumps, let's them flip. Let's create an amazing system so people can make it simple, right? Then we thought, okay, spins have become very important, huge on points, very integral to your training, which didn't used to be the case. Coaches are like, what? Well, I'm so overwhelmed. And so we realized not only does it rhyme, but you look at the sheets, spin to win. So that became our spin to win masterclass. Then we started going to lots of places that were small, little rural places, and coaches, we would say, what do you need? What do you need? And they're like, okay, I'm trying to teach all the hard stuff, but what about the foundation? It's hard for me to teach edges and turns. It's just, you know, there's no figures anymore. Okay, got it, no problem. Edges and turns masterclass.
Should have started first, by the way.
And then we went, well, yeah, we were like, we should have done it at the beginning, but you know, we learned along the way.
Yeah.
And then of course, inevitably, the system again changed. When the GOE went from the +3 to -3 and it got expanded into the +5, -5, Ben looked at me and said, okay, these numbers I'm calculating, like he often does, actually make the program components even more weighted. So because the GOE looks like a broader scale, it's going to be deceiving, but the math is actually less important up there. You need to pump this out and give the coaches a choreography masterclass. Help them with the program components, because that's a whole other section of the sheet, and it's often the way skaters inch ahead. So that's how we created those.
Dude, I'm sold.
Me too. How do I sign up?
Can I come with my hockey skates on and my hockey stick?
Come on down to the next contestant.
I'm loving it. Now, this is the key question, is how do I access it? How do I sign up? What do I do?
Okay, well, we partner with clubs across the country, and obviously open to international as well, to create a masterclass within your club. So we work with you, we bring it to you whatever time of year you want to have it, we book a day of ice, and then we bring every piece of it together so that all you have to do is decide you want it, decide what you want, and then help us market and bring all your skaters.
And even now too, just, you know, a lot of investment that past year in the new site.
On the website.
Online registration, all of that.
True.
We're getting, you know, that's a whole new part of
Streamlining.
Streamlining the process of getting.
And communication. That's a good place to get more information is
Totally.
skatingsuccess.com. Is that a lot of this description is on the website, but it's just so great to be able to talk to you guys about it and go back in my memory as to why we did this, and to remind ourselves, you know, why it's so important, and to really, again, respect where we've all come from. Do you realize that, you know, there's a common bond here with Vanessa too. She's working towards being the master coach or master facilitator for Camp Power Skate.
That's right.
For Skate Canada.
Yeah.
So we have that similarity, that connection. So skating is skating, athletes are athletes. And I think what's so great about the master classes is that you're also able to teach skaters in their own learning styles. Some are visual, some are very kinesthetic, some are very auditory. And because there's on ice and off ice and choreography and stretching and warm up and conversation and demonstrations and Dartfish and mental training baked into each masterclass, people are getting so much value and they don't even sometimes understand it in that moment. I think that's probably why you're getting so much interest right now. Just because skaters and skating, I mean, with the World Champions coming up in Montreal, this is going to be an amazing time to see where, you know, how many people get interested in skating again. So,
well, and I think, Steffany, just going back to that point, it was, how do we move skating forward as well as a huge conversation.
Yeah.
Masterclass is, I think, a great component of that bigger question. Better skating, right? Moving the conversation forward, moving the sport forward in a way of conversation of skater, coach, parent, big vision. And I think that's a great point. Yeah.
Well, I have to shout out to the two of you, because the two of you together, when you started working at the world class level, which is where you stepped in, Steffany, I like how you did that. You showed up at World.
Some people didn't like it. Most people didn't like it.
You know what? When you take a stand for excellence and holistic training and people first, there are people that don't necessarily understand that, and that's okay, right? Actually, I should bring that up. The masterclass may not be for you, may not be your cup of tea, which is totally cool.
Totally cool.
Because we don't really want to teach you something you don't want to learn. But what I loved about what you two did together is you created a whole sphere of how to bring mental performance to the forefront. And Ben, I mean, what you guys were able to create together, all nice results, but also as a personal development tool. And now Life Beyond Sport, you guys are bringing legacy to this team. And I think that is also, to your point, a nugget that's being brought forward when we're changing the sport in an intentional way and being very inclusive about it.
Yeah, thanks for that, Jay.
Awesome. Well, you guys, I think we'll wrap it up there. We're going to open it up to Q&As. So I have a couple Q&As that have come in. First question is, once a skater completes a masterclass, should they repeat it again?
You know,
Go ahead.
Okay, and this is where it is. I personally go, why not? Repetition is the mother of skill. Okay, we've actually had multiple repeat attendees do the Axial masterclass. We've had that. Same with all the rest of the other masterclass. You know, we've had some people repeat spin to win 4 times. So I say, you know, repetition is the mother of skill.
Well, and the feedback
being around
sheets,
the energy again,
well,
I think it's great.
I want to say specifically, those skaters that have come over and over and over, their success has been exponential. And I know that because of their feedback. We always do a feedback session at the end of the day. And skaters, literally, they'll be their 10th masterclass and they'll write on the sheet, learn something new. I got another nuance. I can see the difference you've made in the class in the last year. It's been amazing to see those repeat customers.
Cool. And another question came in. How old does a skater need to be to sign up for a masterclass?
Okay, so I always say it's not an age game. We had a 5-year-old once, 5 years old.
She did a great job.
She took the class. She was at the end of the day, when is the next class? Can we come back tomorrow?
No, she was amazing. She was a rock star. She
Holy cow.
She had the most energy at the end of the day. All of them.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
It was amazing.
She was great.
And then sometimes they're 13, they're like, it's 10 a.m. Are we done? So, you know what? It's not an age thing. It's more of are you into it enough? Do you want to skate enough? And are you interested in going in all in and spending the day?
I think you better point this out. I don't want to take this off the rails, but a 5-year-old and a 13-year-old, how do you train them? And what if there's like coaches on the ice and then there's somebody doing a double axel or someone working on triple and you've got a 5-year-old? Like, I think people would want to know that too.
Well, at this point, we've done over 100 masterclasses. So we've done our 10,000 hours in this sphere now. And I am going to be honest, we had to learn. We had to learn to coach what is, as you would often say to us, coach who is in front of you, take what we wanted to build into the masterclass, and then be able to be flexible in the moment. Often, like similar to quantum speed, even though we're in a group setting, we are teaching the individual. So I'm going, okay, these are my visual learners. These are my kinesthetic, to your earlier point. These are my girls that really want to stand back for a second and watch and then jump in, right? Auditory. And with the technology on site, like you do.
And also too, I mean, on the online registration, that's another good point, Steph.
Okay, good.
It does say level of, okay, star 3, star 4, pre-juvenile. We have a general understanding of, okay, this skater is going to be in this specific box over here. We understand that. We understand the elements that they're currently going to be working. Because again, our criteria is quite good today with what content is out there. So that's kind of where we kind of know. But again, like to say your point, and going back to the feedback that we've been getting too for the past 100, you know, you've adjusted the classes based on some of the feedback, but we do have the two separate groups, and we do understand, okay, if we have this kind of range over here, we're going to have that. If this kind of range over here, we're going to have that. Build it. Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
And so what about the other way? Have you had any superstars? Like, have you guys coached some high-end people, and what's that like?
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
That's some really good stuff.
Yeah.
And we've definitely had double axel, triples, I mean, things like that. But because again, you know, it's great to come back to, even if you're how do you make that double axel better? How do you make the triple, how do you make the triple axel better? There's always a conversation of that too. How do you expand or come back to a foundation of something so that you can maybe begin the conversation again? There's always tons of room for that.
Well, as team, sorry, Steffany?
Well, I know that you guys don't like to blow your own horns, but not only have you coached a lot of skaters to the next level, Ben, you were also Caitlin Osmond's technical coach. You did Dartfish with her, every Friday for the last couple of years before she retired.
Absolutely.
You know, you did a great job, and 10 years. And what I love about you guys is that neither of you were going to say that. Neither are you going to say that Jadene actually in Barrie, Ontario got to choreograph a little Korean skater named Yoona Kim. You know, you're never going to name drop, and I love that about you guys. And I guess that's also one of our drawbacks in our businesses, is that we do work and have had the opportunity to work with the best in the world. You know, Elvis Stoico, you were worked with, and you know, I look at Brian Orser's footage of his Axel, his Axel, I'm like, that looks kind of like Ben's Axel. So there's a lineage and a legacy here that, you know, it's not wrong to acknowledge some of those successes, even though they're not, you know, ours, because we put the skater first. But sometimes it's nice for people to know that, you know, you really have had an impact on a lot of interesting and high-end people's lives.
Nice.
Appreciate that.
Well, I'm gonna have to wrap it up here, you guys. We're gonna wrap it up, but I just wanted to shout out one thing that I signed up for lately, and it's on Facebook, and I get an alert like 4 times a day. So tell me what this Coach's Corner is all about. What is it called?
The circle.
We created the Coach's Circle. So when we created the masterclass series, and this is really near and dear to our hearts, we have always wanted to be in community with coaches. We didn't want to speak at them. You know, we wanted to be collaborative and integrated within a community, because it's more powerful, as we've been speaking this whole seminar. So we created the Coach's Circle. It's a closed Facebook group. You've got to be a figure skating coach to jump in there, or our dear friend Vanessa.
I don't know what it means, but I like
It's just, you know, yeah, she got the special invite. But we have been growing this special Facebook group, and you're more than welcome to join and come into it. It's a motivational place. It's support. It's a place to answer questions. And I'm sure it'll grow into some big masterclass online or something soon.
And what's been fun is even lately we've had some stuff that, you know, there was a question about, I remember that Tuesday, and all of a sudden the whole thing blows up, and we get, you know, it was unreal, and we're getting, you know, you did a
was that last Friday when I got about 15 alerts? Is that what happened?
Yeah, it was like, and it was like, whoa, what have we done here? We've set this thing on fire. Like, wow. And but it was really good because the engagement was so strong, and there were really solid questions, and it was excellent. Like so anyway, join the circle. It's on. It's
a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun, and the funny part is that even though I'm not directly related, we share some clients, and we have some mutual friends on there too, and so it's really an interesting conversation at whatever level that you're interested at.
Yeah, so the leadership seat. Yeah, just to point that out. They're not saying that they're experts in the boss of coaching. Yeah. You know, I think what I really heard is the collaboration and the environment of care and sharing that isn't normal in a single sport. So seriously, guys, way to go. I mean, that takes a lot of guts, a lot of leadership, because you're going to get lots of criticism too. Like, who are they to say what my kid or what, you know, the Axel is? We're always going to have the naysayers, but I just got to give you some props for stepping up.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank
so
you.
Let's just keep it simple for the end. I want to book a masterclass. How do I do it?
Okay, you contact us at skatingmasterclass@gmail.com, or you can just click a link on our website, even easier. And you just decide right on the form, when do you want to have the masterclass, which one are you looking for, and we'll get back to you within a day or two.
Now, and if I'm just a skater, I can email you too, right? Skater, mom, dad, coach.
Absolutely.
We'll figure out how to get me on the ice.
www.skatingsuccess.com.
Thanks. Thanks, Benny. Okay, we're going to finish it at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Vanessa.
That was great. Thank you, guys. It was awesome.
Okay.
Have a good week. Bye, guys.
Thank you.